Some of the UK's most serious and mysterious crimes on the programme tonight. And here, some of the UK's most senior detectives. These are the men and women who are investigating the cases you'll be seeing in the next hour. And of course, they're waiting for your call.
Coming up on the programme tonight,
I'll give you a ring, yeah?
the men who bungled a household robbery, then threatened to make off with a baby.
Please don't take my kid! Please!
The Camberley killer, the vandal who picked a motorist at random and murdered him.
And the historic portrait stolen from a famous castle. We spend a lot of time on Crimewatch being reassuring about crime. It's not as bad as people tend to think. But there are exceptions, and this is one. A killer whose behaviour is erratic and unpredictable. The victim was a 21-year-old clerk from Davyhulme in Manchester. You may remember her from the news around Easter when it happened. Her name was Lucy Royal. It was the evening of Good Friday 5 weeks ago, April the 18th, and Lucy was recovering from a migraine.
Pass the salt.
I believe number 25 is up for sale.
That's it? How do you know that?
One of the neighbours told me.
I didn't know they wanted to leave. No, really. Glad you touched your food, Lucy.
Oh, sorry, Mum. I don't really feel like eating. I'm going to go in the sitting room.
All right, see you in a moment. I've got a sign up.
No, not yet.
Hello? Oh, it's you. I haven't spoken to you for a while.
That was all the conversation the family overheard. We don't know who the call was from, but we know where it was from. A phone box a few hundred yards away. 9:30 on Good Friday evening. Who rang Lucy from here?
I'm just going out. Will you do us a favour? If I'm not back by 11:25, will you tape Islander for me?
That was Lucy. Avid film watcher. She just... anything. She didn't go out an awful lot. She'd much rather spend an evening in watching a film, a big bag of munchies.
We don't know Lucy's route or if she met anybody on the way, though a local resident thinks she saw Lucy at the phone box. Whoever the girl was, she was talking to a man. It's important to eliminate this couple. Could it have been you? Lucy's route from her home in Jura Drive probably did go past the phone box, then up Barton Road, under the M60, and past the Tulip Inn. A security camera at the hotel shows someone who looks like Lucy at about the time it would have taken her to walk that far. Soon afterwards, Lucy sent a text message to her sister. She used her mobile phone a lot, and often used time when she was walking or waiting to sort out chores.
Hi Lucy, it's Amy. I've actually got 2 numbers for her. Which one do you want me to use?
Oh, God, I'm not sure. The number's in my phone memory. I can't check which one it is without hanging up. Can you give us a call back in a few minutes and I'll tell you?
Amy did say she could hear trees going blowing in the wind, cars and motorway. She just sounded normal, Lucy. The background noise was trees and the motorway.
Hi, Amy? Yeah. It's a 5256 number. OK. Great. See you later. Bye.
It seems likely Lucy made that call from near Barton Embankment, close to where she died. That leads to another clue detectives are anxious to eliminate. A woman leaving the fitness club nearby noticed a green Toyota Yaris and someone sitting in the car. Barton Embankment is known as Lover's Lane. If this was your car on Good Friday evening, call in confidence to have yourself removed from the inquiry.
The morning of the Saturday, and we're wondering where Lucy is. Because we hadn't heard from Lucy, we just kept trying to get hold of her by the phone, because she always had her phone on. As the morning went on, we kept trying.
Same thing.
No answer.
Well, she never has it switched off.
I know.
We tried phoning again, and her phone just wasn't on.
Same thing. Maybe she's gone somewhere.
She wouldn't go anywhere without her phone.
Maybe we should ring one of her friends.
It's broken, maybe that's it.
And we just kept trying, phoning friends, see if she was there. No one had heard anything. So we gradually, through the morning, 11:30, 12 o'clock, we were getting to worry. It was forever. It was such a long time.
Lucy had been killed where she was found, fully clothed, but with her head smashed in and 18 stab wounds to her body.
A young girl and her life sort of taken away, just snapped away like that. They shouldn't be allowed. They shouldn't. Why should they do stuff like that? Really, I can't do anything else for Lucy. I can only ask if there is anyone out there that knows anything. They might have some information. The effects it's had on this family is total devastation. Can't understand why. Just can't.
Well, this is Detective Superintendent Peter Minshall of Greater Manchester Police. Now, Peter, we're not going to go into the details, but the way she was killed was particularly violent, wasn't it?
That's right. This really is one of the most horrific murders which I've ever investigated, a really awful crime. Lucy was only 21 and really her family are absolutely devastated.
Now, if anyone has suspicions about who did this, or maybe protecting someone, perhaps with a kind of slightly misplaced sense of loyalty, what would you say to them?
Well, look, we understand about loyalty up to a point, and we can accept that people may cover up for somebody up to a point, and it's the information that's important to us. So if somebody wants to come forward tonight or the next couple of days, we can accept that. It's the information that we do want. But if it's the case that somebody carries on and continues to cover up for somebody else, then they themselves will face quite serious charges.
So let's be clear, if someone comes forward now or in the next few days and has suspicions about someone but hasn't come forward up to this point, they'll be treated sympathetically by you?
Of course they will, yes. It's their information that's important to us. That's what's really, really important to us.
OK. Now, would the killer have had blood on his or her hands, on clothing, that kind of thing?
That may be the case, and clearly somebody may have seen somebody else in that state, in that condition, or it may be that they're just somebody they know has been acting really, really differently since Good Friday.
And what about a motive for this attack?
We're not exactly clear what the motive may be. What we do know is that Lucy's rucksack and her pink phone are still missing, and we
show them here,
need to find those.
because this rucksack is identical
to
the one she was wearing, and this is still missing. Let me just show you the phone here. It's a little pink phone. It's got Scrumptious Bum written on it and a little picture on the back here. So these you still want to find. Now, we showed some people there in the reconstruction that you want to talk to. In particular, there's that couple who were by the phone box, and there was a red car by the phone box.
Yeah, this sighting is really, really important to us. We do need to know that if that was Lucy, then we need to know who the man was speaking to her. And equally, just as importantly, if it wasn't Lucy, then we need to know who those two people were. And also, was the car connected to the people at the phone box?
OK, well, this is far too dangerous to hold anything back. Call us here or call the incident room on 0161 856 4343 or call the local police in Davyhulme. You can also contact us by email through our website www.bbc.co.uk/crime.
We had a mixed response last month's programme, but there have been several arrests and there's some pretty good progress on some of the cases.
First, an arrest made independently of Crimewatch. We reconstructed 3 sex attacks in Essex, which prompted 120 calls. But police inquiries that were already underway came up with a suspect who's now been charged with 2 of the offences.
Last month we showed a theft at a jeweller's shop in Bristol. A Crimewatch viewer thought he recognised the thief and went and told him so. The man then went to the police and turned himself in and has been charged with the offence.
We were pretty sure of progress while we were on the air on one case. Laura Kelly Austin was wanted by Port of Dover police investigating a series of credit card transactions.
Very exciting information. I can't tell you more. I hate it when we have to say that, but I can't tell you more for fear of jeopardising the operation. But if this information is genuine, it will lead straight to her.
And it did. One caller gave her phone number, another her address, and she was arrested and brought to Dover, where she's been charged with a conspiracy offence.
In East Yorkshire, a student had been badly injured, and detectives hoped Thomas Lowther would help with their inquiries. After our appeal, he contacted his solicitor in Hull and agreed to meet the police, but he didn't turn up. Where is he now?
One of our appeals led to a chase through the streets of South London. Anthony Cheek is very tall, 6'7", and was sought after rape and indecent assaults on 2 young brothers. Several viewers rang to try to help, but Anthony Cheek went on the run. Though a helicopter was brought in and he crashed his moped, he managed to get away. But police found several wigs in his wrecked moped, so maybe he doesn't look quite like this. Where is he tonight?
Some of the progress from last month back to this evening, and there's some really good TV on tonight, and not just from the BBC. This stuff comes from private businesses and even private homes. To explain, here's Detective Chief Superintendent Jeremy Payne.
It's an unusual mix, and for CCTV, it's unusually good quality, which is just as well, because it's caught burglars right in the act. You'd expect good camera work from a broadcasting company, and sure enough, these pictures are pretty clear. 3 men broke into this video hire facility in Aldershot. But the firm, who are experts on camera equipment, had installed high-tech security video and captured their every move. The men took £70,000 worth of cameras and computer equipment. If any of these 3 look familiar to you, tell us who they are. More excellent camera work, this time from a house in West Sussex, which has also installed private security surveillance. The first clue is this champagne-coloured Vauxhall Senator, which pulls up outside the house. 2 people get out and take a look around. Then the oldest scales up to the first floor, where he uses a screwdriver to break in through the window. He then lets his partner in. It's only at this point that we see quite how young his accomplice is. The 2 spend quite a bit of time in the house and steal £13,000 worth of equipment, including this monitor and this plasma screen. Sadly, the owner's pets didn't make very good guard dogs. So give us a call and tell us who these 2 are. Next, 3 men run in and jump over the counter of a bookmaker's in Mill Hill, North London. They steal a large amount of cash. On their way out, digital cameras get good shots of their faces. Take another look. Now, pick up the phone. Someone watching must know who they are. Finally, to a robbery at a video store in Chesham, Buckinghamshire. This man actually visits the shop 3 times over the course of half an hour. During the first 2 visits, he wanders around and talks with the assistant. But the 3rd time, he isn't so friendly. He goes behind the counter and threatens her with a knife whilst demanding cash from the till. The shopkeeper was absolutely terrified. So help us find him. Call us here in the studio, 0500 600 600.
Now, frankly, there's not much to appeal on in our next case, but what happened 3 months ago at a home in East London is so outrageous. We hope that the 2 robbers are going to be shopped by their relatives and friends. Their actions included threats to take a baby.
I was looking at buying a new car. Fortunate enough, just sold a house. So I ran at the bank to order some money, and I actually picked the money up on the Monday. So looked at the car, decided I didn't really need the car, decided not to go and buy it. And money wasn't in the house, it was up actually in the office at work.
Oh, it's coming. It's coming. It's coming. Ooh.
Sorry, I'm a bit late.
It was just another normal day, really. We would have got home about 6-ish, 6:15, depending on the traffic that night. Our young son, he was 16 months old at the time.
Oh, good. Well done.
Oh, he's absolutely brilliant. He's a lovely little boy. You know, couldn't wish for a better son, really.
Particularly the Rhineland.
All right, Billy. How's it going? Come in.
My friend rang me up and told me that his daughter was going dancing that night and can he come round and have a cup of tea because he's got an hour to burn, so to speak. And I said, yeah, fine, come round. He come round about sort of 8:30ish, just before 8:30.
I sit there, I just feel so out of place, you know, I think, oh,
I think you look good in a tutu.
No. Listen, do you want to meet up tonight?
Yeah, why not? Let's meet up for a coffee or something before, get a bite to eat maybe, and chill out, have a chat.
Yeah, all right.
Good stuff.
Listen, I better go.
OK, mate.
And get her.
No problem.
Right, Billy, I'll see you
tomorrow.
Yeah, mate, I'll see you later, yeah?
OK.
Hey, don't forget, I'll give you a ring, yeah?
Behave, son. Shoot up.
I'm convinced that I've been either set up for this or someone's been watching me. I don't think things like this just happen to people. My fiancée wasn't aware what was going on. She'd let the dog out. When she come back in, she was faced with a shotgun. Well, she's pregnant, so it's obviously horrific for her to see. I remember her crying and saying, "Please don't hurt him, please don't hurt him."
Down!
I've never seen a gun before, so it was quite scary. I mean, when you see someone with a gun, and I initially thought that they were going to kill us. By that time, I'd been punched about 10 times in the face, nose was bleeding, all the blood was coming down my face. I was hit the most, Billy was hit as well and kicked and punched as well. But it was definitely aimed at me. I had a footprint on my head and burn marks around my wrist as well from where we were tied up.
Get up. You're in the kitchen. This is out of order. Your liberty takes... There's a baby in the house.
Shut up, we were the first to get it. Whatever someone's paying you to do this, I'll pay you double. Where's the money?
Tell us what it is. We're going to shoot the three of you.
There's no money in the house. Please, she's pregnant. There's a baby in the house.
Where's the money?
You know, they were convinced there was some money there, and I was just trying to do anything to get them out of the house.
There ain't any money here. You can take my car. I'll give you the numbers. You can take the car. They're no good to us. I'm not going to lie to you. You got a gun in my head.
Get up. We came 600 miles to do this.
The guy with the blue eyes called the other guy Jimmy. I'm not sure if that was a generic term for a Scottish guy or that was his name, but you know, he was trying to talk with a Scottish accent at that time, but he dropped from accent to accent. They took my fiancée upstairs, and at that point in my mind, I was convinced that they were going to rape her, and I just really wanted to get free and just do something about it. And they made a show the guy around the house, and they completely trashed the house. They even took the bottoms out of wardrobe cupboards, and they brought her back down again after.
Kneel down.
Where's the money? Take a ring. You'll get at least 8 grand for it. It's worth 4 times that. Jimmy, go get the kid. He won't tell us where the money is. We'll take the kid. Don't be stupid. You got a gun to my head. There's no money here. Please don't take my kid. Please.
But at that point, he started to walk upstairs and went into my son's bedroom. And, you know, I was convinced they were going to take him. And at that point, when they threatened to kidnap his son, I sort of almost broke down. You just don't do things like this to people. Yes, crime goes on in the East End, but what these guys have done is absolutely disgusting. They've robbed a pregnant woman with a sawn-off shotgun.
Darling, you okay? Billy, call the police.
My fiancée just wouldn't go back into the house at all after this happened, so we've lost our house as a result of this, so we've moved away. My fiancée is very heavily pregnant now, but the main thing was that we wasn't sure whether we'd lost a baby or not. We weren't sure.
PC Jim Cather of the Metropolitan Police is the officer in charge of this inquiry, and as the victim said, you just don't do this to people. This is way outside the realm of even hardened professional gangs.
It is. It really is a particularly nasty crime. I certainly have never dealt with anything like this before. When these people didn't get the money they were looking for, they threatened to take the family's 18-month-old child who was upstairs asleep in his cot. I would be appealing to anyone to give us any information, and particularly to the criminal fraternity in East London. These people have gone just way too far.
It's interesting, I mean, even in an area which is notorious for its history of people like the Cray twins and all the rest of it, why they wouldn't have accepted anything like this?
No, I think these people really have just overstepped the mark. This should be totally unacceptable.
Now, there wasn't any money there. The guy was telling the truth. He was entirely legit. What they did do, though, is take a couple of things, including a watch identical to this. This is a Cartier.
That's right, yes.
Watch. Now, this really is exactly the same, except the serial number is different. All Cartier watches have a serial number. The one of the stolen one is 261-210-627-CE. And there was also the ring taken, of course. Tell us about that.
Well, the ring is based on Victoria Beckham's ring. It's a diamond and platinum ring. There are 3 diamonds. The 2 on the outside are both heart-shaped, and the large one on the inside is a canoe-shaped. I believe it's a marquee diamond. And these, as I say, it's based on Victoria Beckham's ring.
Another clue is the gun they used. Now, this is the nearest we could find. It is quite different in some respects, but This handle is important. Why? Just tell us about the handle.
The handle itself has been adapted so that it looks more like the bottom of a hockey stick, the striking surface
sort
of
of a
hockey
pistol
stick.
grip.
Yes, yeah.
And it's an over and under double-barreled shotgun, not a side-by-side. The lock and the escutcheon here have engravings. You don't think that one did. As far as I could tell, it's fairly smooth there. The most important thing is just the handle.
That's correct, yes.
Okay. Well, there is a substantial reward. There's £10,000 that's been put up just because this crime is so particularly horrible for anybody who has information leading to a conviction. There's honour among thieves, but there's no honour covering up for these two. Tell us who they are. You can free call us here in the studio, 0500 600 600.
Now, Henry VIII, as every school child knows, had 6 wives and managed to lose some of them in ways that nowadays might have had him up on Crimewatch. And poor Anne Boleyn, here she is, for example, was beheaded. Almost 500 years later, she suffered another crime. They're not quite so grisly. Her old home in Kent, Hever Castle, has been burgled. 5 miniature portraits were stolen, and tonight the people in charge of Hever Castle and the police want your help to find them. This is Robert Pullen from Hever Castle and DS Paul Cordier from Kent Police, who's in charge of the investigation. Now, Robert, we've got some other beautiful miniatures here that you brought along, but tell us about the miniatures that were stolen.
Well, Fiona, there were 2 Mary Queen of Scots miniatures. One was only 1 inch high, a beautiful heart-shaped locket of rock crystal mounted with diamonds and silver. And it was dated 19th of August 1561, the day of her landing at Leith. The other one was 1 3/4 inches high. It had an inscription, Maria Stuart I 1587, set in a gilt metal frame with pierced cresting. And these were very important pieces. We then, in fact, had the largest one stolen was the Anne of Austria, wife of Louis XIII, 4.5 inches in diameter. But the one we're most upset to have lost was the miniature of Thomas Cromwell, Earl of Essex. This was actually painted by the studio of Hans Holbein and dated 1535, so you can understand it was a very historic piece.
There was one other one, wasn't it? Queen Mary I?
Yes, Queen Mary I. It was actually, she was, of course, the daughter of Henry VIII and Catherine of Aragon. It was after Lucas de Here and 17th century.
How much would they be worth, these miniatures?
Well, I think for us, Fiona, it isn't really the value of them. It was actually the fact that they were part of a very important collection of Tudor and Stuart portraiture we've been putting together at the castle, and over 200,000 visitors a year have had the opportunity to get very close to them and to study them. I'm afraid that's now lost and gone.
So, Paul, how did they manage to take these miniatures?
Well, Fiona, they came on a wet, rainy day when the attendance at the castle would have been lower than would normally be expected. They've got into the Anne Boleyn bedroom where they were on display in a glass case, this one here.
Yes, this is the exact case, wasn't it? Where
that is the one, yes. They've waited till the room was empty. They've forced the back open by forcing the lock, reached in and taken the 5 paintings, which are very small and easily hidden.
Any clues as to who did it?
The main clue we've got was a red Fiat Cinquecento, which was seen in the car park by the attendant there. It was driven by a white male, 19 to 20 years, with fair hair. It had faded red paint. The driver of it was only there for about half an hour, not a very long time in terms of visiting the castle.
Now, what are they going to do with miniatures? I mean, whoever's taken these 5 miniatures, where are they going to sell them on to?
Well, it's hard to imagine where they would sell them in this country, and that's one of the reasons we're here tonight, is to try and raise the profile so they can't be sold. They could have been stolen to order for a private collector. Our worst fear would be that they've been taken abroad and sold over there. We're hoping that they're still in the country and that whoever's got them will realise they're too hot to sell and will let us know where they are. They can then be returned to Hever Castle and pride of place.
Well, we're looking for the miniatures. Have you seen them anywhere? And we want leads to who may have stolen them. It was an audacious crime in broad daylight as visitors milled around the castle. Somebody must have seen something suspicious, or someone may know about that red Fiat 500. Call us here or the instant room on 01892 502 104.
It could take months or years before we can really tell you what happens on Crimewatch cases. The investigations can take ages and the courts are often even slower. But here's how viewers helped solve a crime after reconstruction we showed 2 years ago.
Grimsby on Humberside. his way home from a party, James Donson was hit over the head and mugged.
I've just been jumped by some guy with a bit of wood.
His stepdad and his brother came to pick him up.
Do you want to go to the hospital? No. If it's still bad tomorrow, then I'll go to the doctors.
James's skull had been fractured. But it wasn't till the next afternoon, when his family came home, that anyone realised how serious the injury had been.
Where's James? He's upstairs. Dunny? 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 Dunny?
It became a full-scale murder hunt from that day onwards. That was a large-scale inquiry for Humberside Police involving upwards of 30 officers full-time. It was an unusual case in that James did die for only £7 being taken from him, and that was a factor which enabled us to appeal to members of the public.
6 months after James died, Humberside Police came to Crimewatch.
Head injuries are serious. Most people don't recognise just how serious they are.
Even now, I wish that I'd taken him to hospital, and I felt terrible since he's died because as his mum, I should have done. I should have done that.
The tragedy is that James insisted repeatedly he was fine and that he wasn't badly hurt. Let's find who killed him tonight.
We had only 8 calls on the appeal, but one anonymous viewer changed the course of the inquiry. She named the killer and was convincing. She said he was a friend of her son's.
Well, we did know the name of Paul Dean. He had featured in the inquiry as somebody who had been mentioned. Having said that, we had several thousands of names on our database at that point in time, and he certainly wasn't a suspect, and we developed him as a suspect following that call.
To get more information on Paul Dean's whereabouts on the night of the attack, the police spoke to his ex-girlfriend.
Thanks for coming today, Katie.
They interviewed her several times before she finally agreed to give a statement.
She was a drug user, she was living on the proceeds of crime herself, she had a very difficult life. It wasn't easy for her to come forward and talk to the police.
I didn't want to grasp Paul, but it was getting to me. I was upset every time I had to see James Donson's face and his family on television.
Katie said she'd been with Paul Dean the night James was attacked, and her account matched things James had told his brother.
Look at him.
What's out of his head? Just wait here for 5 minutes.
Paul Dean told Katie to wait for him while he popped off to do something. Now, she expected he'd gone off to commit some sort of minor crime.
But I didn't know what Paul had done that night. But a few days later we were walking along and we saw a poster of James Donson. I said, "Who do you think did that then, a smackhead?" He said it was me.
All right, mate. Give me all your money. Oh, don't give me. You took it like a man.
Would have given you the money if you'd asked. I know you're on smack.
Come on, let's get off.
Paul Dean was in a local prison, doing time for burglary.
Paul, we've got an official visit.
He was taken to Grimsby, where he was interviewed and charged.
Quite a number of associates of Paul Dean's involved in minor crime themselves did come forward to help this inquiry. And that might seem surprising, but there comes a point, really, when an offence is of such a serious nature that almost anybody's willing to help.
Because of other charges pending, we couldn't report this until now, but in December, Paul Dean was found guilty of manslaughter and robbery and was sentenced to 9 years.
Can we get results like that this evening to see how calls are progressing tonight? Detective Chief Superintendent Jeremy Payne is over at the intake desk with DS Jackie Haynes.
Well, here we are taking all the calls and having a look through to see what's useful. I found one particularly interesting call about the Lucy Royal murder. It comes from somebody who's really plucked up all their courage and told us about a conversation they overheard not long after the murder which builds up a really interesting picture of her background, which is so important. And I've worked on a number of these type of inquiries. It's so important to know everything about the victim, as inevitably that's what leads you to finding that murderer. So thank you for that caller coming in. Jeremy, what have you been finding?
Well, I've been going round and the phones have actually been red hot on the CCTV cases because the pictures have been so good. Now, we have several suggestions on the West Sussex burglary. And I've just been speaking to the officers and they'll be checking their intelligence databases and they'll be paying these people a visit. Now, the studio number is on the screen, and if you're watching on digital satellite TV, you can email us directly through your remote control. Just press the red button on your handset and choose Crimewatch.
Coming up, dog napping in Hertfordshire, the Irishman who tried to steal a British bulldog.
Give me your dog, you bitch.
And this is a special month and it is a special night to help find missing people.
Most crimes have a motive. This next one is just senseless. So senseless it made quite a splash in the news when it happened 2 months back. But it's still unsolved. The victim's widow is counting on you tonight. Mickey Little was a lorry driver from Essex.
There were 400 mourners at Mickey's funeral. He'd driven for Ford for over a quarter of a century. He was universally popular with his colleagues and had been with his partner, Sue, for 16 years.
Mike and I were inseparable. We were always together. When we used to walk down the road, people used to say that they remember us walking down the road hand in hand, because that was how we were. I'd pick Mike up in the afternoon and he came out with me to do a last few deliveries on my job, and we went back to the house and he didn't have a lot of time to get ready for work.
Sorry, love, I didn't have time to make you any sandwiches.
Don't worry, this'll do. I'll get something else at work.
He enjoyed life to the full, really. Loved his job. He loved driving. He loved being behind the wheel of his lorry.
Love you. Take care.
Yeah, you too. See you in the morning.
I rang him at midnight that night. I always ring him before I go to bed, just to say goodnight, make sure he's okay.
Roger.
Hi. Where are you?
Fleet services. I'll be back about 7 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, okay. You take care.
Yeah, I will.
Love you.
Love you too. Bye.
That was it. That was the last time I spoke to him.
Mick had already driven from Dagenham to Southampton, and on his way back on the M3 had stopped off for his rest break at the motorway services just south of Camberley in Surrey. Meanwhile, in Camberley itself, in Brackendale Road, someone tried to steal a car. The would-be thief bungled an attempt to hotwire the Renault Clio and cut himself on broken glass. The blood has yielded DNA evidence. Further down Brackendale Road, sometime later, but before midnight, someone took bricks from a building site. At the end of Brackendale Road is a footbridge crossing the M3.
After the initial shock of an object coming through his windscreen on a dark motorway with very little traffic around, the fear that must have gone through the guy and the absolute physical shock, for him then to bring his Arctic to a halt, fully on the hard shoulder, is just an absolute amazing feat.
It was over 3 hours before he was discovered.
We pulled up behind Mickey's lorry, and I got out, went up to the passenger door of the lorry. Could see the driver was sort of slumped over to his left. My first thoughts were that he was having a quick nap, so I banged on the door, got no response, went round to the driver's door, And really from that point, when I had a really close look at Mickey, I could see that something was drastically wrong. I climbed in the cab. I took his pulse and his wrist and his neck. There was no breathing, no pulse.
He's dead. His window's been smashed. You better call an ambulance.
I miss him dearly. The fact that he was taken the way he was taken, it was just so senseless and unnecessary, and it was just such a waste of a life. I can't believe that no one has come forward, because they've just totally ruined my life.
Oh, with me is DCI Graham Hill from Surrey Police. Graham, it's so tragic, this case. We showed only one man throwing the brick. I mean, it's feasible it could have been a group of people.
Yeah, I think when the Renault Clio was found, all 4 doors were open on that vehicle, so it suggests that at least more than one person were involved. And we strongly suspect that the theft of that vehicle is connected to the death of Michael Little.
Now, you're bound to find the people who tried to steal that car in time, and we showed someone tried to hotwire and got blood on their hands, and you've got DNA from that car, so you're going to get there in the end, don't you?
We've definitely got good samples of DNA, and I would urge viewers to ring in with people that they think may have been responsible for the theft of the vehicle. We can eliminate those people very quickly from our inquiry.
Now, a car being broken into is a crime, but nonetheless, in comparison to a murder, and this is in a murder investigation, it's a pretty minor crime. What would you say to people who may have been involved, perhaps, in trying to nick that car, may have some idea of what went on that footbridge, but who haven't come forward yet?
Well, I would say to them that we are focused on the murder of Michael Little. We want to identify the killer of Michael Little. If they were involved in any other part of what went on that evening, they need to come forward and explain what they did. We will listen to their account, and we will make a decision on our actions based on their account. At the end of the day, there is a substantial reward of £25,000 on offer for information leading to the arrest and conviction in this case.
I suppose it is possible that they may not have realised quite how serious it was. I mean, what in fact happened is as that brick went off the bridge, it hit Mickey's cab, went through the windscreen with such force that when it hit him on the chest, it stopped his heart and he died almost instantly. Now, whoever was, if there were people with the person who threw that brick on the footbridge, perhaps they didn't realise quite how serious it was.
If that's the case, then they need to come forward and tell us. We need those people to come and give us their account. At the end of the day, if they're covering up for other people, then they're committing serious offences in their own right. So I'd urge them to think very hard and contact us and give us an account of what went on that night.
Now let's just remind people of the actual footbridge, where it was, because that's actually key to the investigation.
Yeah, the footbridge is located between Junction 3 and Junction 4 on the M3 motorway. It stretches between Camberley and Frimley and is accessed by Brackendale Road, where the car was broken into.
Now, what we want to know is if you know anything about what happened on that footbridge, or perhaps you were driving along that night and you saw something, or maybe someone tried to lob something off the footbridge onto your vehicle. If you know anything about this crime at all, give us a call. The number's 0500 600 600, or you can call the incident room on 01306 676 329. Now, here's DS Jackie Hames.
I have 4 faces for you to take a look at this month. Can you tell us where these people are tonight? For obvious reasons, Keith Burke is also known as Tattooed Keith. He was last seen a year ago during his trial for violent behaviour in the Top Club in Edlington, Doncaster. A man was left with nasty injuries, including having half of his ear bitten off. Generally employed as an odd job man, he could be in the Manchester area, especially as he is a keen United fan. We've also been looking for Marcus Royal for well over a year. He's wanted for robbing a care worker collecting disability benefits at a post office in Huddersfield. He's also threatened to stab him. Royal usually works as a labourer, getting employment through an agency. Has he approached you for work? Although his last address was in Fartown, Huddersfield, we believe he's now living outside of that area. Deborah Muggeridge is one of the few women I've come across wanted for serious assaults on children. We believe she left the UK for Tenerife after her arrest almost 3 years ago. We know she worked selling timeshare for a while, but it's possible she's now returned to the UK, although no contact has been made with her family who live near Blackpool. Clive Rosser was charged with raping a 7-year-old girl in Luton last year, but failed to turn up at court. He has family connections in Tamworth, Staffordshire, and fancies himself as a bit of an entrepreneur, starting up companies like window cleaning services. If you know what he's up to now or where he is tonight, call 0500 600 600.
Believe it or not, every year in the UK, almost 250,000 people disappear. Of course, most eventually turn up, but some leave friends and relatives desperate for news of them, and very few are almost certainly victims of serious crime. Tonight is part of the first ever Missing Persons Awareness Month. Crimewatch is joining forces with the National Missing Persons Helpline to appeal for 3 young people we fear may have been the victims of crime. This is Sophie Woodford, who shares those fears on behalf of the NMPH. And this is the first of these people. He's Lewis Haynes, who's been missing now for some 8 years. Sophie, tell us about him.
Well, Lewis went missing on the 9th of June in 1995. He'd been out with friends at the Europa nightclub in Sheffield. He left the nightclub and is seen outside the nightclub walking towards Matilda Street. He's seen on CCTV and he seems to be hailing a cab. However, he never made it home and there's been no clues to his whereabouts since then.
It just seems absurd that he should have come out of a nightclub and disappeared forever unless there was foul play.
Well, his family just don't know, and it is very concerning. There is a fear that he may have been a victim of crime. He was known to jump cab fares occasionally. He was also known to dabble in drugs, so maybe one of these connections, maybe someone who knows him through that, might know what happened to him that night.
He may have had a fair bit of drink on him, may have been victimised, may have been just targeted. Let's hope in 8 years, after 8 years, somebody's prepared to come forward tonight and say what did happen to him. Sarah Benford, she was only 14 when she disappeared 3 years ago. She'd be 17 now. Looks absolutely angelic.
That's right. She disappeared on the 6th of April 2000 from her home in Northamptonshire, Kettering. Sarah had quite a troubled childhood and she spent some time in care. She is known to have been lured into a scene that perhaps was rather unsavoury, and there is a fear that she may well have been, or is being, the victim of some form of criminal exploitation. She may be involved with prostitution, she may be involved with drugs. There is great concern for her safety.
Now, of course, if Sarah is fine, is alive and is watching this, and is a free agent, she's not committed any crime. I mean, the police aren't looking for her. All you're trying to satisfy yourself of is that she is alive, she's okay.
That's right. Sarah's 17 now. She's not in any trouble. We just want to know that she's safe. Because of the people that she was mixing with, we are very concerned for her safety, so we want to hear from anyone who knows where she might be or what has happened to her.
And the third we're looking for is Lewis Curtin, who actually disappeared in Germany.
Yes, Louise Curtin disappeared in 2001. She'd been staying with her fiancé and his family in Germany. According to her fiancé's mother, Mrs. Simon, she took Louise to Aachen railway station with the intention of Louise getting a train to Belgium and then back to England.
Now that was reconstructed in the German equivalent of Crimewatch, and they showed this scene, but that really didn't produce a great deal of information. Something very mysterious seems to have happened either in Germany or on that route if she took it to Belgium.
Yes, and we'd like to hear from anyone who perhaps saw Louise on this route. Did she really get that train and what happened to her along the route?
It was said there was a letter that she had written to her parents, but you're rather doubtful about its authenticity.
Well, the family are very doubtful about the authenticity of this letter. She doesn't mention that she's coming home, and they feel that perhaps the letter was written under duress. They don't feel it was the way she would normally communicate with them.
OK, well, Sophie and her colleagues will be helping officers here in the studio to sift the calls, and the helpline itself is open this evening through dialling a sister phone number to our own. Ours, of course, is 0500 600 600. Theirs is 0500 700 700.
We have a great success rate in solving cases on Crimewatch. I'm just trying to catch up here, actually, with the calls coming in. Even so, we still want to tell you about those that are solved independently of the programme. Here are just a few of them.
This is Parvez Khan. 2.5 years ago, he was charged with causing death by dangerous driving, but he disappeared before his trial. Investigations through Interpol located him in Canada, and he was extradited back to the UK. He's pleaded guilty and is awaiting sentence.
In February, we showed CCTV of this man as he attacked a booking clerk at Malden Manor railway station in Surrey. Ironically, a few weeks later, he became a victim of crime himself. He was stabbed. He went to a local police station to complain and was recognised from a poster hanging on the wall. Alan Yebley was arrested and has been sentenced to 7 years.
Patrick Porter from Bootle. We showed his picture on Crimewatch last June. Merseyside police wanted him for a violent attack on students at a flat in Liverpool. Independently of Crimewatch, Patrick Porter was arrested on the Isle of Man following a disturbance in a bar. Last week at Liverpool Crown Court, he was sentenced to 6 years.
People sometimes say the country's going to the dogs, but you will never have seen anything like this. It happened in Stevenage in Hertfordshire on April Fool's Day, though, as you'll see, it's not so much funny as bewildering.
Do you want to walk? Good boy. Come on. Good boy.
We've had Toby since he was 13 weeks. He's very playful, very loving. Definitely a member of the family. He's not just a dog. He's part of the family.
Toby is a pedigree British bulldog, and every day Ros takes him for a walk in Pear Tree Park in Sheppel.
Got to the entrance of the park, checked to see if there was anyone in the park so I could let Toby off his lead. And there was no one around, so I let him off so he can have some exercise. Toby was chipped. By that it means he's got a microchip in his neck, which if he ever went missing, the vets have his details on it and they just scan his body and the details come up of who the owner is.
Ros chatted to another local resident and had to put Toby back on the lead when they parted because he wanted to follow the pushchair. Only when she was alone in the park did she let him loose again.
This Irish chap, very strong Irish accent, I'd say early 40s, came up to me and started talking, saying what a lovely dog I had.
Lovely dog. Where'd you get him from? What's his name?
Toby.
Toby, come here, boy.
Toby, come here.
Give me your dog.
Just his facial expression changed completely from being a pleasant person to I will have it and you will give me like the dog.
Apart from the strong Irish accent, Ros recalls the man was 5'10" and medium build, with mousy hair and dark eyes. His lower cheeks were pockmarked.
It's not worth it, he's chipped.
You bitch!
Toby, home!
The two men ran towards the Ridings car park near Pear Tree Park Pavilion. Ros, shocked and terrified, ran home, unaware that the blade of a craft knife was embedded in her abdomen.
And when I got to the door, I've obviously felt that I'm at my own sort of surroundings and the adrenaline's starting to wear off and I felt pain in my stomach and I've looked down and there's like blood coming down.
Hello, ambulance. I've been stabbed.
I can't believe that I was attacked for a dog. I feel very vulnerable. I can't go out in public by myself. I can only go out with my husband, and when I do, I have panic attacks. When I go to sleep, I have nightmares. I see his face staring at me. I used to take Toby to the park, to Pear Tree Park, all the time. It's a lovely park. I'm too scared to go back there. I haven't been back there since the event, and I don't think I will.
Have you got a home number then? This appeal is really very focused. No missing dogs, please. The detectives here from Hertfordshire just want tip-offs on those two men who were in Stevenage 2 months ago and who fit the description of the knife man and his accomplice. Now, if you know anyone who looks like Lee Fit, has a strong Irish accent, does he have pockmarked skin? Could he have been in Stevenage 2 months ago? If so, give us a call, 0500 600 600 or 01 438 757 677.
Now, before we go tonight, let me tell you a little bit about the calls that have been coming in. The murder of Mickey Little. Do you remember he was a lorry driver driving along the M3? Someone fatally lobbed a brick through his windscreen. We've had some very good information. It's just come in. I was just reading it just there from a security officer. We'll be following that up. The Beckton robbery. Do you remember this is where the burglars threatened to take a 15-month-old baby in order to try and get information from the man living there? We've had the name of someone who's been trying to sell a ring identical to the one that's been stolen and also has access to firearms, so that sounds like good information. In the Mill Hill robbery, the same name has now come up 3 times. The CCTV of the West Sussex residential burglary. Remember we showed you that earlier on. It looks like we've got a car registration of the burglars, so that's looking very promising. The missing people that we showed earlier on, we've got quite a few names coming, quite a few locations as to where these people might have been seen.
I don't want to be falsely optimistic, but I've just had several calls on Sarah Benford, and that really does look, it's beginning to look really hopeful.
So all the information we've got coming in is looking extremely useful.
All the numbers are on CFAX on page 621 if you still want to ring us. Our lines are still open though. And don't forget you can see a reminder of some of tonight's cases plus crime prevention advice and a great deal more on our website. That's at bbc.co.uk/Crimewatch. And if you've been a victim of crime, want to talk to somebody, the victim support line is on 0845 30 30 900.
And our phone lines are open until midnight tonight, and again this Thursday and Friday from 7:30 in the morning until midnight. We'll be back with the Crimewatch update after the news. I would be doing that, except I'm here, so I can't be doing that this evening.
If updates after your bedtime don't have nightmares, do sleep well. Good night.
Good night.